Tensions have exploded on the US-Canada border. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of friendship, is now the epicenter of a trade war. Canada has imposed crippling tolls on US trucks, responding to new American tariffs. Chaos erupts as truck drivers face thousands in unexpected fees, many forced to turn back with essential supplies. Alaska, already isolated, now faces shortages of food, medicine, and vital goods. The world is watching as an entire state is caught in the crossfire of a trade war. The question remains, who will blink first? To understand Canada's move, we need to look back. The Trump administration imposed new tariffs on Canadian lumber, steel, and aluminum, claiming unfair trade practices. Canada's economy took a hit. Prime Minister Trudeau's government tried diplomacy, warning that tariffs would hurt both sides. Talks stalled. The US held firm. Canada felt cornered and decided to retaliate. The Alaska Highway became their leverage. Canadian officials quietly drafted the Border Integrity and Fair Trade Act, allowing heavy tolls on US trucks using Canadian roads to reach Alaska. The tolls were set so high that the route became economically impossible for many. Canada framed this as a necessary response, not aggression, a way to offset the damage from US tariffs. Trudeau's government knew it was risky, but felt they had no choice. The tolls sent a clear message: if you hurt our economy, we'll hurt yours. The highway, once a symbol of cooperation, was weaponized in a growing trade war. The move angered Americans and disrupted life in the Yukon, but Canada stood firm. The goal forced Washington to the negotiating table. The result, a standoff with no easy exit. The Alaska Highway, built for unity, is now a tool of economic warfare. Both sides are waiting to see who will yield. The stakes have never been higher. The impact in Alaska was immediate and severe. Supermarket shelves in Fairbanks and Anchorage emptied. Fresh produce became scarce, prices soared, and families worried about essentials. Small businesses faced disaster. Hardware stores and contractors couldn't get supplies. Construction projects stalled. The local economy ground to a halt, and anxiety spread among entrepreneurs. The human cost was profound. A mother in Juneau waited desperately for her child's medication, stuck at the border. Air freight was too expensive and unreliable. Stories like hers multiplied. The highway closure became a public health crisis. Truckers, the lifeblood of Alaska's supply chain, were stranded. Many are owner-operators. No driving means no income. Financial strain and frustration grew. Drivers felt like pawns in a political game. The camaraderie of the road was replaced by anger at politicians on both sides. Alaska's isolation deepened, and hope for a quick resolution faded. The state's dependence on the highway was laid bare. The crisis exposed just how vulnerable Alaska is to international disputes. The blockade is more than an inconvenience. It's a threat to daily life. The pressure is mounting for leaders to act. Alaskans are left waiting, watching, and wondering when relief will come. The sense of betrayal is palpable. As the crisis escalated, President Trump and Prime Minister Trudeau took center stage. Trump condemned Canada's tolls as an illegal blockade and promised a swift, powerful response. He ordered a review of all cross-border agreements and threatened even heavier tariffs on Canadian industries. Trump framed the issue as national security, vowing not to abandon Alaska. His rhetoric was uncompromising, energizing his supporters. Trudeau responded from Ottawa, defending Canada's right to protect its interests. He called the tolls a direct, proportional response to US tariffs and insisted Canada would not be bullied. Trudeau called for dialogue but made it clear the tolls would stay until US tariffs were lifted. The war of words deepened the divide, making compromise harder. Both leaders played to their domestic audiences, but neither side budged. The personal clash between Trump and Trudeau became a central obstacle. The standoff hardened, with no diplomatic solution in sight. The world watched as two allies drifted further apart. The crisis became a test of leadership and of national pride. The crisis rippled far beyond Alaska. West Coast ports like Seattle and Tacoma were overwhelmed as companies shifted to expensive sea routes. Shipping costs soared, delays mounted, and supply chains buckled. In the US, some supported Trump's tough stance, but border communities and Alaskans felt abandoned. Rallies erupted, with signs reading "Trade War Hurts Families" and "Open Our Highway." In Canada, national pride surged. Canada Strong trended, and many backed Trudeau's stand. But in the Yukon, businesses suffered as American tourists vanished. Hotels and shops sat empty. The economic pain was real, but so was the emotional toll. Generations of cross-border friendships were strained. The once friendly border now felt like a wall. Resentment and mistrust grew on both sides. The shared identity of two peaceful neighbors was eroding. The damage to the US-Canada relationship could outlast the economic crisis. The longer the standoff, the deeper the scars. Both nations faced a choice: escalate or reconcile. The public demanded answers, but leaders offered only blame. The cost of division was mounting. The future of North American cooperation hung in the balance. The Alaska Highway was built in World War II, a feat of US-Canadian cooperation to defend against a common threat. For decades, it symbolized partnership, commerce, and adventure, a lifeline connecting Alaska to the continent. Families made memories on its scenic route, reinforcing the idea of a shared North America. Now, that symbol of unity is fractured. Canadian tolls have turned the highway into a barrier, choking off the free flow of people and goods. The spirit of cooperation has been replaced by conflict and retaliation. The crisis dishonors the legacy of the highway and those who built it. If the dispute continues, the damage could be permanent: economic isolation for Alaska, collapse for Yukon communities, and broken trust between nations. The highway risks becoming a relic of lost goodwill. The lesson is clear: even the strongest friendships can fracture under political and economic pressure. The road that once united now divides. The future of the highway, and the relationship it represents, hangs in the balance. Only reconciliation can restore its legacy. As the standoff drags on, experts warn both sides are playing a dangerous game. Canada's bold move got Washington's attention, but hurt Alaskans. Trump's threats risk a full-blown trade war. The challenge: de-escalate without losing face. A temporary suspension of tariffs and tolls could create a cooling-off period and reopen the highway. This would require real leadership and compromise from both Trump and Trudeau. The focus must shift from public posturing to practical solutions. Negotiators need to address the root cause: the US tariffs. A comprehensive deal could balance tariffs with Canadian concessions. The goal: restore free and fair trade, benefiting both economies. Trust must be rebuilt, step by step. The Alaska Highway was built as a bridge, not a wall. Leaders must remember the shared history and values that bind their nations. Only through smart, patient negotiation can the crisis end, and the highway once again become a route of friendship, not division.